Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
People are tired of COVID. I have the biggest rallies I've ever had, and we have COVID. People are saying whatever. Just leave us alone. They're tired of it. People are tired of hearing Fauci and all these idiots, these people that have gotten it wrong. Fauci's a nice guy. He's been here for 500 years. He's a disaster. I mean, this guy's, if I listened to him, we'd have 500,000 deaths.
Trump, phone call, controversy. People are tired of COVID. Who's not tired of it? And just a quick question. Is everybody listening, whether you believe we should wear a mask 24/7 and stay indoors, or you think you should just let everything just play out its natural, selection, if you will? We're all tired of it. We are. I'm going to tell you guys right now, for those of you who believe it's a hoax, and I've defended a lot of people out there who, there are some people who genuinely believe this is a hoax brought by the Democratic Party in conjunction with the Chinese government to help eliminate Trump's presidency. You need to settle down. Right. You need to settle down. You probably need to seek therapy. I'm okay with that. There's nothing wrong with therapy. Nothing wrong with saying I'm dealing with something I can't get a handle on it. There's zero issues with that. Go ahead and do it. But for the rest of us, I know it's not a hoax. I've never once said it was a hoax. Do I think it's overblown through the media and the panic porn that they put out there? Absolutely. Have I tried to explain to people difference between this and the flu? I think if all things were equal, this is probably as deadly or non-deadly as the flu is. And let's be real. The difference between this and what's deadly. I want to point something out. Do you want to know what's really deadly, but luckily we've eliminated? Rabies. Ebola virus, you get the Ebola virus, you have a 50% chance surviving. You get smallpox, you have a 10% chance. Rabies is almost 100% fatal. Can't do anything for it. But wish you good luck. If it gets to the point where you start to have the fear, the hydrophobia and all that stuff, you're done. Can't do anything. This is not that. That's deadly. This is manageable. We haven't done a great job at times managing it, but we have allowed the news media on both sides to paint a picture of what's not reality. People say, Chad, Trump wants herd immunity. That's mass murder. He doesn't. Look, what the scientists on the side, I guess you would say Trump is saying is, it's not go out and all have parties and get sick. What they're saying is be cautious, live your life, take calculated risk. Okay? If you're young, you can take more risk. It's the same thing with financial advice. Right? This is what I tell. When I was a broker for years, right? You're 35, you got $200,000, you got $50,000, $100,000 of disposable income where you're goofing around. You're like, I was going to invest in this. I might go to Vegas and I'm thinking about buying a new boat. You can afford to do that. You're 65. You're coming to retirement. You've got a little bit of a nest egg and you think you've got everything set up. You're not throwing 50,000 at something. What are you doing? You're taking a calculated risk based on the circumstances that you currently find yourself in. So what they're saying is live your life. Do it calculated. Go outside saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to go live my life. I'm going to take the risk. If I want to go play golf, I'll play golf. If I want to go to the gym, I'll do the best I possibly can. And if I want to go over here and there's, I will say to myself, there's 70 people in there. You know what? I don't feel comfortable going in there because I've got my grandma at home and I'm helping out with her. Calculated risk. And it's become the all or nothing thing. Do I think Fauci's an idiot? I do not. And by the way, when you listen to him, he never says Fauci. He says he's a disaster, but he never calls him an idiot. Like that was the big thing yesterday. He goes, Fauci and these other idiots or whatever. And I'm like, but at the end of the day, it's so sad that we can't even have a conversation about this. Let me tell you what masks do. Do they stop it? They do not. But do they cut down potentially on the viral load? Yes. The more viral load you had. So HIV is a perfect example. The larger the viral load, the worse it can be. And I learned a great lesson. Let me tell you something. My cousin Ricky died of AIDS. Last time I saw him was at my father's funeral. And he looked like he was not too far behind him. And lo and behold, about 3-4 weeks later, he passed on. When I went to work and did my show in Palm Springs, my first producer, God bless him, Jeremy, still alive, kicking butt, had HIV. Very, very bad strain. There's different strains of it, like horrifically bad, like the kind of thing that you could not imagine. It's just a wonderful human being. And he would tell me stories about the viral load and telling me. And that's what the mask does. It cuts down on the viral load. That's all. So maybe you get sick, but you don't get the viral load isn't as large as some other people that have it. And some people are going to have issues with it no matter what. I mean, they're talking about, well, if you've got type O blood, you may not get it as bad. If you got type B blood, you may not get it as bad. But if you got this over here, well, that could be different. They're still trying to figure this out. It's never been a hoax. But what it became was political. And that's the scary thing. Anytime you can turn something political, know that there's other things behind. And those other things behind have, for all intents and purposes, a different plan and plot of what they want to do with something that will benefit them. I notice we haven't seen too many politicians dying from this. Average person, even some healthy people, but very rarely. It's never been a hoax. It hasn't. And to watch the way that the left plays, Trump said it was a hoax. He never said that. He said it was another Democratic hoax to attack his, you don't have to go through it, but that's what it is. But this thing became political. And the minute that happened, it stopped being a situation where, unfortunately, we can deal with it rationally. Because we have now made politics so emotional. We have wrapped ourselves up in the red and blue of the parties that which we represent. And let's be real, you're probably not representing the Republican Party. And the people over there probably aren't representing the Democrat Party. What's going on is those are the two vehicles of which these people are using the platforms, but they're over there on the uber progressive left, and they're over there on the I'm on the Trump train BS. And that's a sad, sad thing. It really is. So yes, around the globe, you're seeing rising numbers, but then you go and do two things. What's the mortality rate? Well, the mortality rate is down. Okay, well, that's good. I said to somebody yesterday, I'd rather see 360 million people get this and nobody die than 500,000 get this and a bunch of people die. And he said, no, I don't want that. I said, so you'd rather see a bunch of people die? Well, I don't really want that either. No, but people get sick. And I said, yeah, some people do. And by the way, majority, you never feel it. 80% have very minimal to no symptoms whatsoever. Thought I had the cold. Wasn't. Politics. Stop watching 24/7 news. If you're out there and you're watching Fox, don't do it. If you're out there and you're watching MSC, NBC, or CNN every day, don't do it. Watch something else. Watch golf. Watch Gunsmoke. Yesterday was 2 football games on. How great was that? It was the bizarre. Here's the one thing COVID brought us. It's 11 o'clock here. I'm watching a pregame show on a Monday for a football game that's starting in an hour, and the minute it's done, it goes into another football game. I thought, well, that's kind of neat. A little Monday afternoon football. Stop watching the insanity. It's not doing you well. When you see what's going on in the world and I'm very privileged to be in the position that I'm at, and I work hard. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I bust my ass. I sacrifice a lot to get here. But when I go and I look around and I talk to doctors and everybody, and I get to be in a position that's totally in a much different way, to see the emotion and the anxiety in people's world that is going on right now because of COVID, because of an election. An election. Talking to my buddy yesterday, and he's telling me his good friend, right? So my other honor partner, Gatos, he's telling me his good friend's having severe anxiety attacks because of the election. I thought, what are you talking about? How could you have anxiety over an election? Like, what do you think's going to happen? What do you think? Like, what in God's name did you think if you wake up tomorrow and Trump ends up losing or Trump wins another 4 years, do you think is going to happen to you that is going to change your life in any way, shape, or form? To the point where it's uber positive or uber negative. Like, what do you think? For a lot of people, I understand why they're nervous. You want to know what the big thing is? They don't want I told you so's. They don't want somebody to spike the ball in their face. There's a lot of people on the left side of the aisle who can't wait for this election to come and for Biden to win so they could grab that football and spike it in the face of everybody who was a Trump supporter and said, ha ha. And it's the same thing on the right. Half of it has nothing to do. In fact, I would say 90% of it has nothing to do with whether or not you like Trump or don't like Trump. You're just worried about how do I look on the other side? And is somebody going to spike the ball in my face and do I told you so? And you have anxiety over that? Stop letting this stuff rule your life. Tell me how your well-being is better because of this. Tell me. There's no way your well-being is better because of this. Zero. There's no chance in hell. There's no way you're waking up going, woo, I'm totally anxious about the election, where this country going, and COVID. Woo, this is fantastic. Woo! No. People are worried. They see the end of our democracy. Our democratic republic is crumbling, and it's going to be over if Trump gets another 4 years. And the other people are like, oh my God, it's going to be a bunch of people that are going to force us to be indoctrinated with stuff. Hear it every single 4 years. Still waiting for Obama to take my guns, and I'm still waiting for Obama to put us under Sharia law. And guess what? Never came. And for those of you on the left, last time I checked, Trump was pulling out our people from other wars that we didn't need to be in. And he hadn't dropped the nuclear bomb, and he's signing an agreement with the Russians to freeze all nuclear weapons makings where we're at. I think we survived. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. Hello Fresh. Went home last night. A little pasta from my friends at Hello Fresh. 22 chef curated recipes delivered to your door, contact free each and every week. You decide what you want. Low calorie, vegetarian, family friendly. Fall's here. They get a little bit more comfort food coming. The meatloaf, things of that nature. We just got through, we get through the summer. They got a lot of other stuff. It's just amazing what they have. And yeah, you know what? You want to add some extra stuff. They got surf and turf. They got craft burgers, which I've had, that is just amazing. In as little as 20 minutes, boom. From the time you choose it, you read the recipe, you put it all together, because it's kind of like putting together a food puzzle. You cook it on up and you get to sit down and start eating. It's about 20 minutes, give or take. Recyclable packaging. Can't say that word for anything. Pre-portioned ingredients. Cut down on your food waste, which is awesome. Because how many of us out there, you make something, it's like, okay, there's 4 of us. And then you make it for like 12, because that's like that's what they give you. They either give you can make it for 1 or you can make it for 12. And then what happens? You throw the food away. You don't have to worry about that. And as far as savings, about 40% versus shopping at the store. You can add extra meals, skip a week. Next week, Jack's going to be here, my son. I'm going to add a bunch of extra meals, because that's what happens with him. He likes to eat. He's a kid. He's growing. Get started today. America's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh.com. Promo code is Benson. When you do that, $80 off across 5 boxes, including free shipping on your first box. Promo code Benson, $80 off in savings. HelloFresh.com. HelloFresh.com. Promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
As one candidate gives his 2-minute answer, the other's microphone will be muted, but both microphones will be left on during follow-up discussions. The change coming after that first debate debacle. President Trump repeatedly interrupting and ignoring the rules.
The Trump campaign says that President Trump is committed to attending this last debate, though the president said that he sees these rule changes as unfair.
They're unfair. They're not nice. They're going to turn my microphone off. You know who probably asked for it? The Republicans. Look, if we got a chance to get Biden to speak. Because here's some fair stuff about Biden, right? Like, and I'm going to throw this out there. I'm not a supporter of either of these candidates. I don't dislike Trump. I like a lot of what he's done. I can look at him and say, I'm not happy with the way that you handled COVID at time, the way that you pushed off responsibility, the way that you poo-pooed it at times. It's not a big deal. It'll disappear. Some of that stuff, look, that's real. The way that you handled the immigration problem, I liked, except to the point where you started separating because you were trying to make a point. I think you failed miserably at that. And the reality is, I want a strong border. Everybody does. I think there's more than a few things and occasions you can point at Trump and said, you know what, on policy, I differ here, but there's a lot I love about Trump. taxes, regulation. The regulation thing is, I don't think you guys realize how huge that is. Like, to me, massive. Even bigger than taxes. To me, the regulation side of things was huge. You pulled us out of wars. You killed al-Baghdadi. There's a lot of things I look at, the so many things I can look at. I'm in love. With Biden, though, he's quiet. But here's the reality of it, Kristen Welker. Ask the damn question. Are you guys going to try to pack the courts? Are you going to do that? Are you going to pack the courts? It's a yes or no thing. Well, I don't know. We'll see. No. Are you going to expand the courts because you want to change the rules because you guys weren't in power at this time? And had you been, you'd have done the same damn things. You'd be screaming at the Republicans. Answer the question. It's a simple thing. That, to me, is very, very real. I don't care about Hunter Biden. I don't care about what any of that crap is. Just to let you guys know, I talked to several news outlets. Fox apparently turned down the stupid Hunter Biden thing. They're like, we don't want any part of this. We don't. Talked to the National Review last week. They said, yeah, they shopped that to us. We said, nope, we don't want any part of it. So I have real questions, though, Joe, about that. I have questions about your tax side of things that I think are very real. I have immigration questions about the fact that the party that seems to be dominating the conversation in your party, which it seems to be a wholly different party, they want more of an open borders type, like, well, we're not going to call it open borders, but what we're going to do is we're never going to prosecute anybody, and we're never going to stop anybody. And I want to know that if we see a rise and we don't have a vaccine, are you shutting the country down? Real questions. I want real answers. Not, well, we'll see. That's not an answer. It's not an answer. Zero answer there. And the court packing thing, the other ones you could kind of look and say, well, what about this, that court packing? It's you. It's a yes or no. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter. Tweet, text the program, Chad Benson Show TV on the tube of you. It's Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Damn, Jeffery Toobin. At least Pee Wee Herman was in an X-rated movie theater. I'm just saying. Damn.
When O.J. Simpson puts you on blast, for those of you guys who don't know, Jeffery Toobin is the lead, I guess you would say he was the lead legal analyst and an American lawyer, but one of the lead legal analysts for CNN. And yesterday, during a Zoom meeting, apparently, he thought, man, if there isn't, I could think of no better time in my life to ring one out. Now, he said, it was exposure, I'm sorry. And look, we all have issues with Zoom. Every one of you listening who's got a child at home, or if you're working out of your house, you walk around the house somewhere like, what's behind me that's not going to go, oh, he's gross, or their house is a mess, and not get me in trouble, right? Maybe your house is fine, but there's something that could get you in trouble. Or what part do you want to display that makes you look awesome? Like, they'll think my house is awesome. Because that's the one thing I've noticed in all of these things when people are zooming from the house. Have you noticed that it's people that do it on a daily basis, right? Who, whether they're doing a podcast from their house or they're doing something, it's always the same thing. You got a few things behind you. It looks the exact same. It's almost set up like a studio. Everybody else is just winging it. Except for Jeffrey's winging it. He's ringing it. But everybody else is just, they're just, okay, I'm going to be in my kitchen today and I'll be here. And it's hilarious. I can't believe you'd even do that. He said, I thought I was, what do you mean you thought? What do you mean you thought? I thought the camera was off. what was going on? We were trying to put it together. I'm like, all right, so here's what we think was going on. Maybe one of the girls on the Zoom calls, he's having an affair with her. We're trying to piece together this last time I ride home when I was talking to my uncle, because it's just the craziest thing in the world. Louis C.K., at least he asked. Chad. It's so bizarre, right? There are cameras everywhere. Everything's watching you. How many of you have been thinking to yourself, man, I would love to get a new set of golf clubs, and you're talking to your friend about it, but you never searched it online, and then you go up and all of a sudden you pull it and it's right there. It's watching you. It's looking at you, staring at you. You can't get away from it. As you could try, but you just can't. I just don't get it. I don't. So he's been suspended by the New Yorker, and he says he has taken some personal time from CNN. So he's going to take off a little time, a little relaxation, kind of get his stuff together. Just Phil, you and I have talked about this. Every year there's some idiot that does something completely stupid, right? Like last year was the guy who died in a crash and he was watching porn in his car.
Yeah, he flipped his SUV.
This year, spring training, a baseball player for, I think it was Tampa Bay or the Oakland A's, was arrested in spring training at like a Publix market, which is a supermarket if you're not if you're not in the neck of the woods of Publix, in the parking lot doing that. When the police rolled up on him, and he's like, I thought it was the right place. Like, what? What goes through your mind? Oh, my goodness me. Jeffrey. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. I do. Oh, look, this is to me. So yesterday, right, you Trump. Here's where I call the BS, right? Like, I hear this.
Strategy seems to be to call Biden a criminal. Why is that?
He is a criminal. He's a criminal. He got caught. Read his laptop. And you know who's a criminal? You're a criminal for not reporting it. You are a criminal for not reporting it. Let me tell you something. Joe Biden is a criminal, and he's been a criminal for a long time. And you're a criminal in the media for not reporting it.
Really? Like, okay, well, where's the criminality of it all? I'm curious. Well, there were the secret emails. I don't even know if I believe any of that stuff. But where? To me, it's the same thing when people say, "Oh, Trump's a Nazi." Well, show me where he's a Nazi. Show me the parts where he's an actual Nazi. Show me the parts where Biden's a criminal. I'd like to see that. Show me. I'm totally open. Well, but the emails. Okay, but did he meet? Do you want to know what I think happened? If we have to walk through this thing, and we will, just really quick, I'm going to give you my quick thought is his son had a really bad problem, like bad problem with drugs. I think his son was desperate. And I think his son, if these things were real, was probably doing everything he could to court people that were helping pay him big dollars to keep him in the lavish lifestyle of being able to support his drug habit. And chances are Pops never took any of these meetings for anything. So show me the criminality. So it's what I want to know. If there's criminal stuff out there, then absolutely. But if you send me some bizarre YouTube thing from some, conspiracy theorist, oh, you didn't even know that he had all the SEALs killed. Really? The guy there that everybody makes fun of eating tapioca pudding at noon and getting ready to take a nap? That guy is the guy that had them snuffed out? Man, I'm not buying that, kids. I'm not buying that. Zero chance of that happening. But like everything else, I just want to hear where you're coming from. That's it. That's all I want to hear. Where you're coming from, and then where's your evidence to back everything up? Give me the evidence. Facts, not feelings. And real facts from real reputable sites, not stuff that you made up or you find on the interwebs buried deep that nobody is ever going to see because it's all a bunch of baloney. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you as well. Check out Chad Benson Show TV and the Facebook. Will we or won't we have a vaccine? That is really interesting because as we move forward and we fight over the coronavirus, which you should be fighting over. If we fought this hard to fight the coronavirus, we'd be in much better shape. Right? We all agree, like, oh, yeah, I think we'd be in a lot better shape if we're fighting the coronavirus. But we don't. We fight with each other. And, yeah, I want to see a vaccine. Doesn't have to be 100%. I think 50% would be pretty adequate. And if we've got a good therapeutic, then we can return to life immediately as normal. Now, is that going to take a while? A few months, potentially. But I still love the fact, and this is it, and you get it more and more when you go and see that on all of the polls. What are they saying? More and more people are not willing to take the vaccine, and most of that is Democrats. Why? Because you hear a lot of this crap.
President Trump has promised a coronavirus vaccine by the end of the year. Would you trust that vaccine?
No, I would not trust his word, not Donald Trump.
I don't trust the president on vaccines.
I think it's going to be a very skeptical American public about taking the vaccine, and they should be.
He will push anything to get reelected. Don't fall for it.
Yes, I would be hesitant.
We can't trust the president and take his word.
I trust vaccines. I trust scientists, but I don't trust Donald Trump. And at this moment, the American people can't either.
And by the way, I will take the vaccine after Ivanka takes it.
She probably already has taken it, so. And no, they're going to be like, everybody gets one but Joy. But looking at those numbers and the polls where people are like, I'm going to, you guys do realize, I'm going to explain it to you because apparently I have to. You do realize that Trump didn't come up with the vaccine. Do you guys aware of that? He doesn't have a white coat. He's not in a lab at night. It's like, sorry, kids. Sorry, Jared Kushner. Sorry, Mnuchin. I got to go. I got to bust over here because I got to get ready for the vaccine. And you know I'm working hard on that with my Bunsen burner. And I'll put that thing together, and you guys are going to get it. It's going to be awesome. It's pretty awesome. We're going to call it a Trump scene. Everybody's going to get one. And when you get one, you buy one, I'm going to throw in the art of the deal for free. Is this not happening? These are, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, AstraZeneca. These are real companies that are putting this thing together. Now, in fairness, if you came to me and said, I'd like to see it in play for a little while and just to make sure for my own well-being that this thing rocks, not for political reasons, but just for your own. And you can make an argument there that a lot of people say, I usually like to give it 6 months to a year to work. And let's be real. We've never had any situation like this in my lifetime where we go out and we're talking about it, where it's affected us on a day-to-day basis, where the coronavirus is essentially the lead dog in this presidential race and in everything else because of how it affects the economy, how it affects our personal lives, how it affects our health, how it affects every single thing. We never had that. But shame on you for playing this game of will we have a vaccine or won't we have a vaccine? Because you, for whatever reason, seem to think that that Trump is putting this thing together. And Trump's right.
If elected, Biden will delay the therapies. Look, even the vaccines, they're trying to say, it's no good if Trump has it. It's being done by Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer. If it comes out with Trump, how bad is that? They are willing to demean a vaccine for political purpose.
Oh, demean the vaccine. That's my new shirt. But I think it's a fair question. And that's another question I would ask Biden. Biden, let me ask you a really honest question here in the world that we live in. If I'm, Kristen Welker, you become president. The vaccine is only in the stages where we're giving it to the first responders and everybody else. Are you making phone calls to tell them to slow down? You want to bring in other scientists to take a look at this, and maybe it's gone too fast. Are you going to do that? People need to know this, because if he gets in there and he expands the court and then he slows everything down and then all of a sudden he says we're going to halt the vaccine. Remember, at the end of the day, don't look at the doctors, don't look at the scientists, look at the lawyers. If the lawyers sign off on it, then you can feel pretty good, because at the end of the day, it's about making money. That's a question I'd like to hear. Because does that change your mind if he says, well, we may wait another 6 months to a year and go through new rigorous testing under people that I trust? Does that change your mind? Fair question. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. I do. Wounded Paw Project, amazing organization. Been working with them for a bit. So here's how it works. Wounded Paw helps veterans, first responders, and their family by getting them dogs. Dogs will be euthanized, rescues them, and trains them. And they get called all the time for like, hey, we got this dog. Are you guys interested in this dog? This dog's on his final strikes, if you will. And they'll come in and they'll rescue the dog. And it's not just puppies. People think it's puppies. The last dogs that they did this amazing work with were dogs that were fighting dogs. One was a bait dog. The other was an actual fighting dog. And now the fighting dog is as a boy who's autistic. A first responder's child. And it's an amazing thing that they're doing. See the work they do. Go by woundedpawproject.org, but they need your help. Any unwanted vehicle you have, great tax-deductible gift. You can give cash at woundedpawproject.org, or you can go to smile.amazon.com and set up your supporting gift. But see what they do and see how it changes the lives of the men and women who are able to get these dogs and the dogs themselves. Their motto is to save a paw, is to save a life. Find out how you can give. Go to woundedpawproject.org, woundedpawproject.org, woundedpawproject.org. Chad Benson Show.
Irreverence? Yeah. So what? It's the Chad Benson Show.
It is the night, my body's weak. I'm on the run, no time to sleep.
Thanks to hit songs like that one, Christopher Cross has been riding high for years.
Sailing.
For a while, he was a king of easy listening. Cross and his girlfriend Joy tested positive for COVID-19.
We both got very sick. The biggest thing I remember is just incredible malaise. Just, you couldn't lift your head.
All right, I'm going to say this. Producer Phil, maybe you recognize this. As a kid growing up, Christopher Cross was the bee's knees. He was huge, right? You had sailing was massive. He had Arthur's team. He won an Academy Award, I think, for that. He was massive. And then MTV came out, and it destroyed him. People
you got that right.
Yeah. That, like, if you could point to one thing that ruined somebody's life that he had nothing to do with, where the first time we said, we want to look at something pretty, we don't want to look at you. You standing there with your guitar saying, ride like the wind and sailing, we want no part of. And that was that. But he got the virus, and he struggled.
I went to the market, and when I got home, my legs just gave out. Couldn't walk at all.
He was diagnosed with a rare disease in which the body's immune system attacks the nerves.
Boom, I'm paralyzed. I'm in the hospital, but I can't turn over. I can barely do anything. My hands were also paralytic, which was hard because I played the guitar, of course. I wasn't sure whether I would get that back. I was in the hospital about 10 days, and it was the worst 10 days of my life. I couldn't walk, could barely move, and so it was certainly the darkest of times for me,
Guillain-Barré, he was not sailing through this, is what he was trying to say. Oh, Chad. He had Guillain-Barré syndrome, so temporarily paralyzed. And he was struggling, as anybody would, right? You got a virus, and the virus hits you different. And first of all, he's older. He's almost 70. Secondly, I'm going to throw it out there, he's not in the best shape.
It's very, very hard. You're just looking for any sign of light in that darkness. Whatever I did, it worked.
Cross, who was in a wheelchair, considers himself a long-haul COVID survivor. He now uses a cane.
My walking is affected. My speech at times can be affected. Memory is a big deal. You got to wear your mask. You got to take care of each other because, this could happen to you.
It could. And the whole thing is, we joke about it, but It's just about having respect for other people. You don't even have. I forget my mask sometimes. I just put it on and do it. Well, I'm at work, Chad. You don't like your freedoms? I love my freedoms. I love my liberties. I'm going to go do that. And I'm going to continue to wear my mask around people because I respect them. And a lot of them, I've got 2 people I work with, one of which I work with very closely here, who works on my other show, who has a compromised immune system. And he would be in, that kind of situation. And he's been working, and he runs like 10 miles a day, but there's just some things. It's about respect, right? That's all it is. And it's so weird that we can't just kind of respect each other and just do some little things and then look at a bigger picture, which is, hey, we do this, we can open up more. We do this, we can do some other things. We do this and hold on for a little bit longer. Trump would be right. We would be getting around the corner because we'll have some of these things. But we can't, for whatever reason. We've decided to literally die on a hill of mass. It's just insane. 323-538-2423. He sang Arthur's song. I like him. MTV was not kind to him. That's all I'm trying to say. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Going to be a repeat of 2016? I think so. I think we'll do better than 2016. We're way ahead of where we were in 2016, and I've done things that nobody's ever done. We built the greatest economy in the world, and we're building it rapidly again. If you look at Arizona, you look at the job they've done, and I'm just leaving other states every one of these Republican-run states are doing phenomenally. The Democrat-run states are not, but they're not going to affect our numbers very much. I think they're going to open up on November 4th.
We'll see. 2 weeks from today, we head to the polls in earnest. Right, we're heading to the polls now. We've already had 30 million. They're talking about the fact that by the time we head to the polls, that a third of what voted in the last election will have more than voted. We'll see. At the rate we're going, it may be half. Because we're closing in on that third, about 165 million. We're at 30 million that have already voted. People are still waiting in line across the country, from Virginia to you go and see what's going on in Georgia and other places. That's very real, that we could have 40, 50 million people potentially who have voted early. What helped Trump in the last election? The Late Breakers. Great name for a band. What's up? What are you in? The Late Breakers? Sweet name. That helped Trump, which were people that were undecided. People that looked at both the candidates. They said, Hillary's got 90 years of experience. And she's got 90 years of controversy. She's not likable. There's nothing personable about her. You're not looking at her going, she seems like a sweet lady. She's kind of like she's the lady you're like, whatever you do, don't let your kid be babysat over there. Just don't let her do it. Not that she's going to do anything mean, just that she's just like, ooh, what do I do? That's what it felt like for a lot of people. They had no idea. Trump, well, he's a billionaire. He doesn't understand. And that's what the left doesn't understand. Trump's the dude down who owns the building that's going to be 200 stories tall, but he's got his hard hat and he's down there. And he's talking to the guys and he's cracking jokes and he's cracking dirty jokes and he's talking about there was something about him. But now we've got 4 years of Trump. We have 4 years of chaos. We have 4 years of lunacy. We have 4 years of at times unmitigated wackiness that you can't even begin to fathom if you hadn't lived through it. You wouldn't even believe it. But you've also got 4 years of track record. You get an F for this. You get an A for that. You get an F for this. You get an A for that. You get a D for this. You get a B for that. And so you look across. Now you got Biden. Nobody hates Biden. I have nobody. Like the people that are sold for Trump, who live for Trump, who were dying for Trump, if he would tell them that their mother was evil, they would believe it. those people, you guys are, I'm moving you out of the way. Average Republican who's going to vote for Trump. He's like, I don't think Joe's a bad guy. I worry about the party, but I don't think Joe's a bad dude. No, I don't think Joe's a criminal. It's been hard because it was easy with Hillary, right? Like you knew who Hillary was. You could say, Benghazi! And it was like, oh. You could say, look at all the things you did to those women that came out after Bill. Right? And the way you tore into them. Like, ooh. You probably, like, I've always looked at it and said, I bet in the last 10 years, Trump's probably driven a car. Joe's driven a car. She's like, I haven't driven a car in 30 years. Like, how do you do that? Like, you could, if you live in New York City and you travel amongst some of the boroughs there, but you really don't do anything else. All right, maybe, because I've had friends who are in their 30s and 40s moved out here from New York, and I got to get a driver's license. But they knew how to drive. It's not like they hadn't been in a car, but they hadn't been in a car where somebody opened up the door for them. They sat in it, except for a very few of them, and that was not the kind of thing that she was having done. So Trump has 2 weeks to change the narrative. He has 2 weeks to tighten up the polls. He has 2 weeks to make up ground in North Carolina. He's struggling. North Carolina, which is crazy, right? You look at North Carolina and you think to yourself, Trump should be winning that easy, but he's not.
A new poll from ABC News and the Washington Post shows a dead heat in the critical battleground state of North Carolina. Joe Biden at 49%, President Trump 48% among likely voters. Concerns about the coronavirus pandemic are lifting Biden, while the state's sizable evangelical and rural populations are going heavily for the president. Sources tell ABC the Trump campaign is increasingly worried that the president's chances of winning North Carolina have all but evaporated. That's a state Team Trump heavily invested in and views as essential for the president's path to victory.
And that's the thing right now. If you're Trump, you're not worried about the popular vote. You're carving up, where do I need to go that I have a chance? Is it Wisconsin? Is it Minnesota? Is it Pennsylvania? You're going to need states. Arizona, he's here. Why? He barely won it. It, in theory, is a very dead red state, but it has now become very purple, and I do believe it's going to turn blue. And it's weird because I think we'll be very red inside of the state. So it'll be potentially a governor that is, well, right now our governor is very, very right wing, if you will. It's the best way to describe it. Very conservative. Nice guy, Ducey. I give him a lot of crap. Very nice guy. But he's been, the first couple of years, he kept Trump at bay, kind of did the stiff arm, right? The Henry stiff arm football, stay away. But he's been much more embracing of Trump over the last. But the two senators are most likely, one of them is already a Democrat. The other one will probably be a Democrat, and Mark Kelly over Martha McSally. But the state itself is very red inside of the state. And I don't know if Trump's going to win this. He's been out here 6 times. He's got to figure out where is the lowest hanging fruit where I have a puncher, more than a puncher's chance, where on the scorecards it's a dead heat. Is it North Carolina? Is it Arizona? Do I have to go straight? And then where am I going to get? I think he wins Ohio. I still think he wins Florida at the end of the day. But now what? Am I going to win Pennsylvania? Am I going to win Michigan? Am I going to? So that leaves me Wisconsin. I got to figure out where this is coming from. So now you're not even worried about any of the other thing. Is I know who I can hold. I'm not winning Nevada. I know the things I'm going to. Now I have to pick not even the lowest hanging fruit in the sense that, well, I'm only behind by 5 there. What are the ones where I'm in a dead heat? Because I got to get those. And that's how he has his chance to get to that magical 270. And I don't know if he will. I don't know if Trump, I don't even know if Biden will on the night. I think at the night there's so many scenarios where Biden boat races him, and you're like, whoa. But then you look up and you're like, okay, wait a minute. He won, but he only won by like 3 million votes, and that means there was 70 million people that voted for him, and 67. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump gets more votes than he got last time and loses. And then you can make a case he gets less votes and wins. There's so many scenarios that go into this. But at the end of the day, I think he realizes I'm not going to have the same late-breaking people that I had last time. My focus needs to be a hyper-focus, and places where we know we're not going to win or where it looks like it's getting away from us, we need to reallocate those funds to other places so we can now hyper-focus here, and I only need to go to those states. And if you're Joe Biden, you have one more day where you need to be on. Just one. On the stage, that's it. You don't need to do anything other than that. You're going to be up there Thursday night. You already know some things that are going to be happening, new rules.
As one candidate gives his 2-minute answer, the other's microphone will be muted, but both microphones will be left on during follow-up discussions. The change coming after that first debate debacle, President Trump repeatedly interrupting and ignoring the rules.
The Trump campaign says that President Trump is committed to attending this last debate, though the president said that he sees these rule changes as unfair.
Of course he does. He's pissed. He's mad. And now the topics, too, because the topics are changing.
The Trump campaign says that President Trump is committed to attending this last debate, though.
And he has no choice, by the way. He has no choice because he knows this is the last time he's going to be face-to-face with Joe Biden. He has no choice. Period. Like, it could have been to the point where they say, all right, here's the deal, guys. This is the magic talking stick. We're going to put it right here. Each one of you will have the chance to walk and hold the stick and talk. And the other one has to be quiet. And then the other one can go over and get the stick. Like, if they told him that, you have no choice at this point. You have to get on stage, which I'm not going to lie to you. If they did that, I'd laugh. But the topics.
The Trump campaign said. The president said that he sees these rule changes as unfair. The campaign is also trying to push to get the topic switched to essentially a foreign policy focused debate, but the debate commission says it is up to the moderators, not to the campaign, to choose these topics. So anything goes.
Yeah. Yeah, he would like that because on the foreign side of stuff, he could go after him for China. He could talk about all the bombs that they dropped, the fact they got us into Yemen and Syria and Libya and did a lot of other things. The fact that they didn't go and crush ISIS when all of the generals, like when they come out, so you don't listen to the generals. Well, the generals told the Obama administration, hey, if you want to do this right, we want to get rid of ISIS, this is what we need to do, and you ignored. So he would have had an opportunity there, but they're not. And so now it's Kristen Welker's fault because she's chosen other things to focus on. Trump has got one chance. And if you're Biden, you got one opportunity. Biden, here's the deal. This is it. You're rounding home. And right now, I'm not saying that he doesn't have a kick, that he's still going to push out there. But you've only got one hurdle, and it's Thursday night. If you can get through this, you got a real good chance of winning this thing. But as President Obama would say, if anybody can blank it up, it's Joe. So don't quite count the chickens just yet if you're the Dems. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. All right, let's talk about it. Raycon's best earbuds around. I'm going to go play a little golf after this. I got to make a couple quick phone calls, and I'm going to go hit golf balls for about 45 minutes. I like to stretch out, and I do some sprints and stuff like that, and I go over. But I always have my Raycons. E25, 6 hours of talk time, seamless Bluetooth pairing, absolutely incredible. Ray J put this together, and when he put this together, he wanted not only the sound quality. That's why he took it to Snoop Dogg and all his friends and said, I want the sound quality to be amazing. I want the comfort to be incredible. And I want the price point to be right, because that's important. And these things, especially with the holidays approaching, are amazing. The price point's incredible. Normally, you get these things, they got the little wires and the stems, and it costs you a couple $100. You don't have to worry about these. Better sound quality, better design, better fit, noise isolating. You will love it. Well under $100. The E25 from Raycons. Get yours now. BuyRaycon.com/Chad. 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 Chad Benson Show.
I can't take it anymore!
Get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Plenty of stuff trending. Let's take a look over at the Google world. We'll talk about Google here in a little bit. Chiefs last night played a game. Those of you guys didn't know yesterday, there was 2 football games. A lot of people there was. Yeah. Middle of the day. I think it was 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific. A game that was supposed to be played on Sunday was moved till Monday because of COVID. So you had the 4-1 Bills and the 4-1 Chiefs, and the Chiefs ran roughshod. Literally, it's what it was. Their ground game won. Over 1 million searches. Cowboys, over 1 million searches as well. They had a blowout loss to the Cardinals last night. And Jeffery Toobin coming in at third. Me Toobin. If you haven't heard, there was a Zoom incident that had to do with his, how should we say, his Toobin. Jeff Bridges announces he's got lymphoma. Presidential debate commission gets to mute the candidates. I don't know what that means, because are you going to have unidirectional microphones? Are you going to have, like, how does that work? What do you think, that I can't hear Trump shouting in the background? Or Joe screaming, "You're a clown"? Head on over to Twitter, and Twitter's just a hodgepodge of funny stuff today. So, hashtag MeToobin. Again, if you've just, it's all that you need to know. It was just a situation. It was Zoom. It was something that I don't know what you do at this point. Like, I don't know. I'm sure there is a crisis management, team that you call in situations like this, where you're like, look, remember Pee Wee Herman and Fred Willard? Yeah. Okay. So, and Louis C.K., that happened. Oh, there might be somebody. I don't know. It's International Ass Day. Had no idea whatsoever at all. And Chachi. Apparently, John Stamos has volunteered to join the cast of Happy Days for their upcoming virtual reunion as Chachi. Is Chachi not invited, or did he just not want to be there? Like, because if you're not inviting Chachi because he's on the right side of the aisle, that's the dumbest thing. If he doesn't want to be there because of whatever reason, I'm like, this person, right? This person. You guys are, I'm assuming, through all the politics, when you knew him when he was a young actor, you were familiar with Scott Baio. So, if you're not allowing him to join, then you count me out because of your politics. If you're saying, you know what, we're going to have everybody here except for Chachi, because we don't want Chachi here. And I've heard different things, that they didn't invite him and that he doesn't want to be there. Chances are somewhere in the middle is the truth. But put your stuff aside, for God's sakes. It's Happy Days. Do you think Richie's brother's going to be there? Because he's been missing a long time. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Huge news today. Massive news. The kind of news that you probably will pay zero attention to, but actually does affect who you are and what's going on. The Department of Justice did something today.
In the government's most aggressive challenge to big tech in more than 2 decades, the Justice Department accused Google of maintaining an illegal monopoly over Internet searches and search advertising. The antitrust lawsuit could remake one of the world's most recognizable companies that is itself a verb. But federal prosecutors said Google only got that way through business arrangements that locked out competition, including a multi-billion-dollar deal that made Google the default search engine for iPhones. Google has denied antitrust practices, said consumers find things all the time on rival Amazon.
Which is true, but does anybody know who... I'll ask you, producer Phil, do you know what the second biggest search engine in the world is?
It's not Bing.
It's YouTube. Who owns YouTube? Oh, Google. And it's not Bing at all. In fact, Bing Crosby is more popular than Bing. You have a better chance of finding Bing Crosby ghost, asking Bing Crosby's ghost, what's this? Where can I find it? Than you do Bing. This is massive. And we were talking about it off the air. And I try to tell people this. Let's talk about, you want a free market. Oh, we're not a real free market. Look at these companies and look at this. Let me tell you why we don't have a free market. Because we have power brokers in Washington and in the states that you live at. So what do? It's not the best product wins. It's the best lobbyist gets to the best people that can help you get the best deals to squash your competition. That's not free market. What do people in D.C. and state capitals want? Money. Got to run for re-election. Got to hold on to your fiefdom. How do you do it? You need money. What do people who have corporations, businesses, but in particular corporations, ideas, certain widgets, what do they court? Power. They got the money, but they need the power. Why? Because if I can get to them, what can I do? I can help craft great bills that'll make it great for everybody while giving me an advantage. And you see this a lot, especially when it comes to the left side of the aisles want to always regulate things. Who always gets to play the regulation game? Rarely is it a politician. It's a politician in conjunction with other businesses. And what are those businesses doing? They're helping them craft bills that they think would be fair. And what do those things do? Well, these people know automatically, i.e. the banks. Yeah, you know what? We went too far. You guys should put all kinds of regulations on us. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I told them we went too far. They're going to regulate the hell out of us. Great work, Steve. Then what happens? Small banks who didn't do anything. Small savings and loans, the credit unions, all these small little, mom and pop, 4 or 5 branches here, they can't compete because now the regulations are so massive that they're landing on top of these people. They're spending their entire day following regulations, which is eating up man hours, person hours, woman hours, non-binary hours, as well as dollars. So then what? Well, we can come eat you up. Big tech's fine with regulation. They'll help you craft it because it's going to help them. Facebook, Google, the Alphabet company, you go and look and see. Competition, it's okay to have a couple. What you want is the big dominant dog. We got that. Well, the problem is big dominant dog, and this thing is Google. And Google has everything, and they have money at their disposal. So what do? When people say there's no rivals, why is that? Well, first of all, it's not because nobody puts out a great other widget, although it's hard to compete with Google, and Google has gone in such a way where they have dominated through Apple, through the search engine, all of those things. But the other thing is they never let you get or see the light of day. If I invented a car today that ran solely on water, a real car, like fantastic, government would want to regulate it. But you know what happened? The car companies, if they couldn't buy it, or the oil companies, if they couldn't buy it, would go straight to D.C. and say, we can't have this. You need to fix this. Well, I think it's great for the environment. You think it's great for the environment? Fantastic. Because I think your competitor over here, the person running against you, doesn't think it's great for environment. And you know what they think? They think our money's great for their pocketbook and their campaign and their war chest against you. Oh, well, maybe you're right. When you have a power structure like we do in this country, and you allow lobbying the way that we allow lobbying in this country, you will see things like this. Do I think they'll break it up? It's going to be tough. It's not the first. The Europeans have tried. Everybody has tried. And I don't blame Google for being great at business. I don't blame Google for any of that. Same thing with Facebook. Facebook's like, hey, this thing's better than us. Let's just buy it. And some people, and we're guilty. I have a company. My uncle and I put together a company, and we're growing pretty well. Our goal is never to go public or anything like that. You know what our goal is? Somebody comes and buys our technology. That's all we want. We want our blank you money. How do we come about doing it? But we also know at this point in time, no matter what we do, we're never going to get to that level of the things that we want to achieve just because nobody's going to let us get there. The pressure will be too great. And the threat is essentially, it's very mafia-like. Take the offer. Because take the offer. And that's sad but true. And I've seen it with many people that we've dealt with who've gotten out of stuff, and they've been very happy to get out of it. But it's not where their vision took them because they knew you don't have the lobbying power. I've always said when it comes to the marijuana industry, you know when you know it's real? When they finally get the best lobbyists to get out there and lobby the hell out of it. Right now, what's the big pushback? Cigarette companies are huge pushbacks. As soon as they can figure out how to be part of the game, it'll change tomorrow. But when you have money, it seeks power. And when you have power, it seeks money. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. Still here. The virus hasn't gone anywhere. The mask thing, the debate's still there. Should you or shouldn't you? Of course you should. But Chad, it doesn't take away your freedom. At no point did anybody, I'm going to say this again. If they come in your house or they come in your car and they tell you need to wear a mask, then you say, and I'll stand next to you and say, with you. If you're going to go into a store, if you're going to take a walk, you don't have to wear a mask. If you're going to go work out at the park or run around, you don't wear a mask. I mean, there's some things that's just common sense. But if it can reduce the viral load, means you may get sick still, or you may not get sick. But if you do, and it reduces the viral load, meaning that the amount of virus that's inside of you is negligible, and so you may not get as sick as you would have, isn't that a win? It's common sense. We should be out living our lives. We should be doing all those things. We can use a little common sense. We can operate with this, around this, and through this, and continue to rebuild our economy. Or we can fight over the dumbest things, which is all too often what I see happen in situations like this, is everybody's fighting over crumbs of things that don't matter.
Here's what the CDC is saying. Transmission of the virus through travelers has led to and continues to lead to interstate and international spread of the virus, which causes COVID-19. The CDC says masks will help protect Americans, and they'll give people the confidence to start traveling again and traveling again safely.
Yeah. Travel industry was readily open in saying yesterday, this isn't a 2 or 3 year plan. This is potentially a rebuild of a decade. That's huge. Could you imagine that? Rebuilding for a decade is what you're going to have to do. And as we were just talking about the antitrust and Google and are they too big? Think about this. There are companies out there that have put themselves in positions where they're not burning through cash in such a way that other airlines that are going to get swooped in and gobbled up by these. Which means what? Less choice. What's less choice mean? Well, they're able to price manipulate. There's only 4 choices. These are what the prices are at. it's a mask. If this helps you get out to live life, you do it. Eventually, this time in the next 6 months or so, we won't have to make those choices. And you know what? We may say next year when flu season comes around, you know what? I'm going to wear a mask in situations where I think people may have the flu just because it makes me feel a little bit better. And if I can reduce my chances of getting it, hey. But right now, to get back out into the world, hell yes, it shouldn't be this much of a battle. And for those states out there who don't want to open up, but you tell everybody you need to wear a mask, that's the dumbest thing in the world. You can have restrictions about how many people you want in a store and allow the stores to come up with that. You can put yourself in positions where you tell everybody, look, in public places, whether you're in a mall or inside of a store, we ask you to wear a mask, and the companies do that. We should be allowed to do that. But Trump was right about, like, some of these Republican states, they're in much better positions. Well, why is that? Because we like our liberty and our individualism. And we've allowed the states to operate in that. Ezra Klein had on, I forgot her name. She was on a couple weeks ago. She's a epidemiologist from Harvard. And she was talking about the fact that what separates us from other countries is the fact that we have this liberty, meaning the federal government doesn't override the states. The states have their rights. And those rights have been passed on to us, saying you guys as individuals. Well, as individuals, you know what? We could be a little bit more cautious and respectful of one another, and we can get through this damn thing, and we can do it in a much more open society rather than staying inside. And if people want to stay inside, that's totally fine. But it shouldn't be the battle that is. And that's what we have, the battle that is. Because we, well, for whatever reason, we're stupid. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Tweet at us. Love hearing from all of you. Rough Greens. My dog Doodles. So this is what I do at night. I used to come home and Doodles deaf. And he's older. My dog's older. And we adopted him. We thought he was like 4 or 5. And found out he's like 9? Are you kidding me? So he's getting up there in years. And he has bad hips and stuff. And then the other dogs will kind of bark and then he kind of senses it. But he used to do nothing. He's just sit there and he didn't get up. Now he knows I'm coming home, and the minute they start to move, he heads over, and he's jumping up and down, and he's just, oh, pet me, pet me, pet me. You've been gone for like 6 years. I'm like, I've been gone for like 10 hours or 12 hours. But they don't know because they can't tell time. And that's all because of Rough Greens. Rough Greens is amazing. This has changed my dog's life, and the puppies take it. I've got 2 puppies as well. They're both under 2 years. One's not even a year, and the other one's a year and a half, and they love it. And it's not dog food. I just sprinkle it on their food, and they love it. It's got vegetables, vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9. It's just the supplement that brings your dog's food to life. And whatever the ailments were with him, it was arthritis and fatty tumors. It has changed him in such a way that he has got a new lease on life. He wrestles with the other dogs. He runs. He plays. He jumps up and down on things that he's never been able to do before. And if he did, he hurt. Your dogs will love it. I swear by it. I give it to him, and I'll continue to do so. Try it. $14.95, 2-week jumpstart. Simple and easy. Go to roughgreens.com/chat. RUFFgreens.com/chat. You'll see a picture of Doodle and I. Or call 833-MyDog88, 833-MyDog88. $14.95, 2-week jumpstart. Put it to the test. Roughgreens.com/Chad. Rough Greens. We make any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
I'm exhausted.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
It doesn't just seem like President Trump is the butt of more jokes from late-night comics.
Trump's time is very precious, he said, while calling Fox Business in the middle of a deadly plague.
The data supports it. 97% of the jokes told about the 2 presidential candidates were about Trump, according to a study by the Center for Media and Public Affairs at George Mason University, which analyzed Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Fallon's September monologues. That's 455 Trump jokes and just 14 about former VP Joe Biden. Compare that to a similar study from 2016 when it was 78% Trump jokes and 22% Hillary Clinton. And the Trump jokes will probably increase as we get closer and closer to Election Day.
How's that even possible? Like 100%? But it shows you. And this is the disconnect that a lot of people talk about when it comes to Hollywood, right? Like we heard 50 Cent came out. People are freaking out. He's supporting Trump. Yeah, he's like, I looked at Biden's tax plan. You guys are insane. You guys are nuts. Chris Pratt, the thought of him, because he wouldn't do something, people flipped out like, oh, he supports Trump. Like, that's where we are. Last week, Dianne Feinstein hugs Lindsey Graham. People are like, she needs to go. The disconnect of not being able to have a conversation in this country is nuts. But when you have something that is so one-sided, so slanted, and then you wonder why your marketplace is so small. Johnny Carson destroyed everybody. He didn't care. He cared about, did you watch it? There's that old adage, would you rather be right or would you rather be rich? For me, I'd rather be rich. But some people, that's what it's all about. And they could catch that niche marketplace of 3 or 4 million viewers on a nightly basis. And they're just playing to one crowd only. Here's something interesting. Producer Phil, I found this to be the most interesting story I've seen in the last couple of days. There's a couple of these. That's weird. Man died the other day, 95 years old. Lion Gardner Tyler Jr., Franklin, Tennessee. His grandfather, roll with me, people, was the 10th president of the United States, John Tyler. That's right. His grandfather was John Tyler. Why? Because John Tyler had children very, very late in life, like uber late, had like 12 or 15 of them. He was actually born 130 years after his grandfather. That's what's insane. But he had it at such a late time, and then his father had him in such a late time. Just to give you perspective, his grandfather was president of the United States from 1841 to 1845. Soak that up. Like, wait, what? Like before Lincoln? Wait, what? Before, yeah. And he just died. We're 3 generations removed from them. That's insane. And earlier this year, I found this out. Earlier this year, a person died who was the last person receiving a pension check from the Civil War. Nuts. History's all around. It's crazy, right? Living history. So I always tell Jack, when you see some of these people a little bit older, especially when we go to like some of these museums and they're docents and they're telling their stories, I'm like, man, that is history. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program, Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
In this corner, from the great state of Delaware, New Hampshire, Miami, Maine, D.C. Hold on, these are all the places you've been, Joe. Miami's not a state. Is it a state? Could be a state. Texas? Am I from that? No, Joe. Over here, Donald Trump, border-raised New York, now claims Florida as his home. You have 2 weeks from today to get your crap together because you're going to have an election. Yeah, 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today. All the polls. Chad, polls are... Settle down. But all the polls are... I think the polls are pretty accurate. They were accurate last time. The thing they got wrong were a few states, but they got the national poll right. And let's remember, you remember 3 weeks before when Hillary was up 10. You don't remember the day of when it was near closing to a dead heat in certain areas. They got a few states wrong. Nationally, they got it right. What about now? Struggling in certain areas, Monsieur Trump.
A new poll from ABC News and The Washington Post shows a dead heat in the critical battleground state of North Carolina. Joe Biden at 49%, President Trump 48% among likely voters. Concerns about the coronavirus pandemic are lifting Biden, while the state's sizable evangelical and rural populations are going heavily for the president. Sources tell ABC the Trump campaign is increasingly worried that the president's chances of winning North Carolina have all but evaporated. That's a state Team Trump heavily invested in and views as essential for the president's path to victory.
Now, if you look at everything, it's over. I mean, Trump's going to get blown out. Slow your roll, right? We'll get to Joe in a minute. What's your path to victory, Joe? It's a pretty simple path, Joe. It's pretty simple. Right? You don't screw it up. And I know what Obama says. If anybody can screw this up, it's you. You settle down and you sit over there and eat your tapioca pudding. So Joe goes over. Silver lining for the Republicans. Voter registration right now. In certain states that are battleground states, they're seeing more than just an uptick. Huge. Huge in certain areas. Big. North Carolina being one of them. People are looking, going, oh. How about this? North Carolina. Democrats have lost 136,000 votes, and a lot of those were because they were purged, inactive voters. But the Republicans have gained 100,000 in North Carolina. Oh. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that is interesting. Not just there. Florida seeing a huge uptick in the last several days of registration as they've started to allow some of those numbers to come out. You're like, oh, that's interesting. Very interesting. Georgia has seen more than a little uptick in the last few days. And that's on both sides. So across the board, though, what you're seeing is, remember, late breakers came for Trump last time. They got there and they said, I don't know who to pick. I got this guy over here who I think is a loudmouth. I like some of the stuff he says. And it would be interesting to see what he did. And I got her, who's a known commodity, but she just feels, it's the best way to describe it. That should have been her campaign. Vote for Hillary. So they went with Trump, and it was huge. Wisconsin broke like 29% or something like that. Late breaker. That means people day of showing up, looking down, going, "Ta-ha! I'm doing that." But you got 4 years on. You got Joe Biden, known commodity. People don't really hate Joe, right? They think him as the nice old guy. He's kind of creepy. Smells, looks at your girlfriend's, butt. Kind of smells her hair. You smell nice, Cindy. But it's a Chad. He's a super creeper. Part of satanic cult. Steals children. Settle down. Go back into your basement. Just the dungeon that you were in. Just grab your Mountain Dew and leave. Nobody wants to talk to you. But he's getting a boost in places. And on the night, don't be surprised if Trump has a big night. Doesn't mean he gets over the hump. Doesn't mean that at all. But don't be surprised if you find out that a lot of this early voting, which is breaking about 70-30 Democrat versus Republican, and a lot of people say it's 80-20 or 85-15. I'm just being very conservative saying it's 70-30 because people act as if Republicans aren't going to show up. But there's a lot of them are like, I'm not going to show up early or mail my ballot. It'll never get there. Because the Democrats have control of the postal service. And you're like, oh, my God, can't deal with you. But on the night, it's going to be reversed. Can Trump get it out? Get out the vote. How does he do it? That's the question right now. And where does he do it? He's got to be strategery. He's got to do it. How do I do it? What's my path? Don't give me the path that is most likely and let me go conquer that path. And that's the way he's got to look at the next 2 weeks. And Thursday night is key. Now let's get to Joe. Joe, stand up, please. Thank you. Come on over here. Fantastic. Where are you from? Delaware? New? It doesn't matter. It's all the same. Maple syrup? That's what you guys do up there, right? Hippies and maple syrup with some shotguns? Fantastic. So here comes Joe, right? And Joe, you've got one responsibility at this point in time. Don't blank it up. You have a Thursday night with Donald Trump. Don't, and this is what you would tell a boxer, right? Like, so boxing, they call it the sweet science. Why is it the sweet science? Because there is a science behind the way that they do things. There's a science behind why you work a body. There's a science behind how you play defense. There's a science behind where you go to the body to try to get somebody to drop this so you can punch up top. There's a science behind all of that. And what do guys who are great defensive fighters never want to do? They don't really want to fight. So I tell Joe, don't allow him to turn this into a street fight because you're going to lose it. You're going to lose it. Don't allow him to do that. Simple answers and move on. You've got one night in front of the cameras where the whole world is going to be watching that potentially, because there's still 20 or 30 million Americans that are sold for you, but 2 or 3 hiccups and they'll jump ship. So you have got this one night. There's a hurdle that you must get over, and that is don't be Joe Biden. For one night, don't be Joe Biden. For one night, don't stumble. Don't wander over and start telling stories about young kids of color who are rubbing your legs inside of a pool because they've never seen hair like that. Don't tell a story like that. Don't tell a story about some guy named Corn Pop. We don't need to hear that. Don't meander off talking about in the good old days back before we had the talkies. Nobody wants to hear that. You've got one chance to get over that. Joe, don't be Joe. Be succinct in your answers. Keep them under. If they say we're going to give you 2 minutes, take a minute, minute and a half. Just be straightforward. Get that one thing out first, and then boom. And then let him go. Let him punch himself out. Let him throw all the haymakers he wants. Rope-a-dope him. But be anybody but Joe Biden on that night. That's it. It's your one thing. 2 weeks from today, I do believe we'll get close enough to have the real conversation that the election's over. I do think so. Would I be surprised that night? Yeah, I think I would be, unless it's a boat race by Joe. No, Joe, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor. It's what the kids say. Just sit down. Sit. Nobody thought we were going to go on a boat ride. He's funny. But could it happen? Yes. Will it happen? I think it's if we were going to have a victory on the night, it's either a massive blowout for Joe Biden or Trump once again squeaks by. And it doesn't matter what all the mail-in ballots and absentee ballots look like. But because we're voting so early, we will have many of those mail-in ballots that night ready to roll out as far as what it looks like. So you'll start getting numbers way earlier than we would normally. They've each got some path to victory. Joe's is much larger, but Joe's stumbles are usually much bigger. Trump's is much narrower, but he's already done this before, so you can't count him out. At the end of the day, there are still some people that are undecided. Trump has to take a different path than he did last time, but if anybody can do it, it's him. They've got 2 weeks to do something. For Trump, he's got one night to not be Trump, to allow Joe to talk himself in circles. If I'm Joe Biden and I'm Donald Trump, I'm as quiet as can be on that debate stage. Hell, between the two of them, I wouldn't say a word. I'm only here so I don't get fined. That's all I say. It's Marshawn Lynch. I'm only here so I don't get fined. How do you feel about Social Security? Feel great about it. Not going to do anything with it. You? Let them talk them way into troubles. That's what you have to do. But both of them have egos. Both of them don't like each other. Both of them at some point in time will say something stupid, which will get the other one to react, and then that's when it could potentially break down. Muting or no muting of the buttons. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every one of you. Wounded Paw Project. Go to woundedpawproject.org. So you go there. People ask me all the time, what exactly is it? I said, so imagine this. You got about 20 to 25 veterans a day that are committing suicide. They come home, they're struggling. They're struggling with PTSD. They're struggling with injuries. Right now, according to the VA, it's up 20-fold in calls they're receiving on a monthly basis. Normally, they receive about 40,000 phone calls a month when it comes to PTSD and other struggles. And right now, it's up to 900,000 because of the lockdown. Getting an animal to them could be the difference between life or death in many cases. For Ernesto, who founded the company, it was. Him rescuing a dog, not a dog that was a service dog, just a dog, changed his entire outlook. Same thing goes for our first responders and, of course, their families. They need your help, and it's fantastic. You can give by the gift of a vehicle donation, whether it be, hey, my car doesn't run, or you've got a car and you thought, I need a great tax break, whatever it is, you're going to get an amazing tax-deductible gift. On top of that, they're going to be able to take this and put this towards advocating and training these shelter dogs and taking them from the shelter and turning them into service dogs. Go to woundedpawproject.org, woundedpawproject.org. Find out how you can help and how you can give. It is the most amazing thing to see the work that they do, and it truly changes both the life of the person and family who is getting the dog, but also the dog. woundedpawproject.org. You'll be saving a dog to save a life. Chad Benson Show.
If you like talk radio like Chad Benson likes his meals, you've come to the perfect place for takeout.
It's our Jeffery Toobin theme. For those of you guys who don't know, this is the Vapors turning Japanese, which I don't think you could probably do today, but has nothing to do with that and all to do with what the tuber did.
Damn, Jeffery Toobin. At least Pee Wee Herman was in an X-rated movie theater. I'm just saying. Damn.
When you got OJ hammering you. And people like, OJ's right. He speaks wisdom. So if you guys haven't heard, Jeffery Toobin, CNN legal analyst, I think he was a columnist at The New Yorker and did a bunch of other stuff, was caught in a Zoom meeting doing something that normally you would do by yourself, apparently. And we were just trying to, how do you come back from that? Like, you're sitting there trying to give real legal advice to Erin Burnett, and she's thinking, creepy. Oh. But should you be canceled? That's a fair question in this day and age, because we're all too often canceling everything all the time. It's like, you should be done. This is what you go. You should never be ever allowed to do anything. And when I talk to people, they're like, and we're going to get a little bit more into the insanity of cancel culture in a minute and why I fear that more than anything else. But people say, well, they're learning a lesson. I'm like, okay, but then when do you allow them back in? Because every time I see somebody who's quote unquote has been in the wilderness and then they have the opportunity to come back, then everybody freaks out and doesn't let them back in. It's like, it cannot be internal damnation forever. It's like, this is it. You're ruined. You're destroyed. And let's be honest, 99% of us across the board, when we see this cancel culture stuff that goes on, and I'm not just talking about Jeffery Toobin, but it's, who are we to decide whether or not this human being gets to eat again or work again? Who are we to decide that? And we're not talking, and the majority of stuff that people gets canceled for, virtually, it's the dumbest things in the world. It doesn't even deserve a second look, let alone destroying a human being. But that's where we are. Some things are different. We're not talking about sexual assault. We're not talking about some, out and out, just racism, like you could not believe that you just come. We're talking about a lot of things that have happened. But for somebody like him, people will probably claim who are on the Zoom meeting that, and they'll probably get paid a hefty, they'll get their Toobin dollars. Were you on the call? Oh man, you got Toobin dollars. But how does a human being, like, do people deserve a second chance? I mean, I think it's a fair question. I do. And there's a difference between the creeper Matt Lauers of the world who've got the special little button to lock all the doors, right? And you go and you look, and some people that have been just absolutely the Al Frankens of the world, like, oh, we should go now. I mean, come on. This guy, though, man, it's just like the Zoom thing, though. That was, to me, it was like, I've never, ever thought, look at that. Look at that. Look at that chart. Look at those graphs. Look at that pie chart. Look at that. Oh, my. Look at the way that we beat last quarter. Oh, good God. Even though everybody thought we weren't going to do well, we just totally beat last quarter. We got more likes. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. And it's funny because he said he muted it. And I'm like, do you understand how mute works? I don't think you do. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
You know, when people ask me, like, what do you worry about, Chad, when it comes to society? I said, we all focus on the negative because that's the algorithms are built that way. And the algorithms kind of run our life. So what's the negative side when it comes to algorithms? Is that we only look at the negative, right? You know, a funny kitty's going to get 1 million views, and a plane crash will get 50 million. We doom scroll. We do stuff. I tend to live my life in a much different way. I live in a very interesting way because of my childhood. I'm very much capable of compartmentalizing things, saying, you know what, I'm putting this here. I'm locking the box. I'm sticking it away, and I don't need to worry about it because I'm on to other things. I don't worry about a lot. I don't worry about whether or not bringing my child up in this world, like your children are going to be. No, this is an amazing world. We've got an issue with coronavirus. I've been here for 50 years almost. This is the first issue we've had, so I think we've done okay. I hopefully, knock on wood, I'm going to be here for another 50, and we won't have any more of these. But the reality is, because of where we've come from, how far technology's come, how fast it's come, we're able to take something on at rapid pace that we wouldn't be able to otherwise do. And because of that, we will mitigate the damage and we'll get out of this in a way that feels like we're unscathed compared to the likes of the Spanish flu. That's the reality. It's a beautiful world. It's beautiful. Right? We've got everything at our disposal. We have a computer in our hand 24/7 that's stronger than anything that we sent back in the 60s and 70s to space. We can connect with people across the globe instantaneously. We have all of these amazing things. And of course, most of all, the most beautiful thing, we've got our Bill of Rights. We have our Constitution that protects us. When people ask me what I worry about when it comes to us, it's us destroying us, not politicians. Politicians are useless. For the most part. The ones who are good, you never hear of. They're like referees. You know when you've watched a good game and you're like, well, we didn't even mention the referee. That's great. That's the way it should be. If you know who the referee is, and as a guy who's played sports, let me tell you something. You look and you go, oh, God, this guy's awful. You know. You absolutely know. So what worries me isn't whether or not Trump gets reelected or Biden loses and Trump's got another 4 years. We are much bigger than those two. I'm here to tell you that. What worries me is things like this.
They have no business being here. They're trying to build a fascist movement in this country.
We claim San Francisco for Jesus Christ.
I think that the fact that they were outnumbered is important.
It's tough, right? Because I absolutely believe in free speech, but I'm also anti-fascism.
Yeah, I can't believe they're here at a free speech rally. We touched on it yesterday. That's what worries me. We live in a world where speech is being redefined every day. That our freedoms aren't being taken away at the end of a gun by some fascist regime or some totalitarian regime, as I love how they all call it fascism or totalitarianism, or so. It's not. It's being taken away by the thought police. It's being taken away by individuals who want to rob you of your liberty to have a free, open mind and have a different opinion, whether it's based on trans issues, women's issues, religious issues, capitalism versus socialism. You pick whatever it is. That, to me, is more terrifying. Joe Biden and 4 years of him, Chad, but you got to understand, they're going to take over the world. They're not going to. They're not. You know why? We're too fickle. We as voters, you underestimate the power of the people. When we need to, we arrive and we come strong. Do I think for a moment that voting Joe Biden in is going to turn us into some sort of bizarre socialist Venezuela? Hell no. It's not going to happen. It isn't. Do I think for a moment that Trump being here is going to be another step closer to a fascist regime that soon takes away all peoples of color, people who are part of the LGBT community, and they put them in concentration camps? No, I don't. Stop it. But these kind of things scare me. San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury. It's free thought. It's everybody smoking weed, long hair. People kind of smell, but we're all having a good time, and we want to hear what you have to say. And hey, bro, I may disagree with you, but it's all cool, man. Peace and love. And it's not that anymore. The hate, especially in the left side of the aisle, when it comes to this, and I'm not talking about the average Democrat. I am talking about the over-educated, indoctrinated people who run around screaming and yelling that they know better, and somehow their hate is morally superior. That, to me, scares me far more. Portland, Seattle, insane things like that. That, to me, is more frightening than Biden and Trump. It's crazy. And when you can start to redefine what is bad when it comes to language. So my opinion is different. And because I have a differing opinion, whether it's right or wrong, you feel that you have the right to tell me I can not only not have my opinion, but you may be able to make it so I don't even earn a living, is terrifying for so many people out there. And it's not even just talk radio or television. We're talking about people who are just average, everyday people who may put something on a Facebook post that they think is funny that gets them canceled. That's more frightening. So am I worried about COVID coming and destroying everything? No. We've got to pay attention to it. It's real. These things are vitally important. We know that. Durr. Am I worried about whether or not China's going to defeat us in a war? No, it's not going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now why it's not going to happen. If China ever declare a war on us, by the time they got out the words declare war on the United States of America, 1.6 billion Indians will have turned their weapons in that direction. They're already fighting with them, and they don't want any part of that. And they know it. And guess what? They got nuclear weapons on their doorsteps. They don't want any part of that. Plus, they're years and decades behind us in a lot of things when it comes to military. So I'm not worried about that. But I am worried about these kind of things. When you say things like, well, I believe in free speech, but I don't think they should be here because they're fascist, and you're the one shutting them down, it screams to me you're a bit fascist. Right? The difference between the way that you say they are and the way that you are is both of you guys, in theory, are monsters. One of you is Michael Myers, and you don't have an axe, you have a big knife. The other's Jason, and you have an axe. At the end of the day, the job gets done the same way. These things worry me. The rest of it, it's a bunch of baloney. It is. Trump's not going to fix your world. You are. Biden's not going to ruin your world. If that happens, that's you. What happens in your neighborhood, in your political world, your municipalities, all of those things is far more important. But those kind of things, yeah. And you know the sad thing is, and this is the sad thing. Growing up the way that I grew up, Long Beach, California. So many of my friends are in the entertainment industry. So many of my friends are in the arts industry. I have several friends who are uber famous. And let me tell you, what scares me when I see all this stuff happen is like a Bill Maher thing is a perfect example. So you got 100 or 200 people in the audience in a Bill Maher thing. What frightens me the most and what reminds me of things of what could potentially happen if the insane, super progressive left Berkeley types had their way, which they won't because we have liberty, we have a constitution, and we'll eventually get to the point where we push back. But what scares me is people who are afraid to be honest with themselves. People I know that will tell me a joke and we'll be laughing. He's like, "Oh, dude, my wife's coming. Be quiet. We can't talk like that." People I know that we've gone places and they'll say something horrible about somebody on the right and they'll look, and they'll look around and like, "Are we clapping? Are we supposed to be clapping? I didn't really like what they said, but I'm going to clap because I want to be the first one to clap and the last one to stop clapping," because that reminds me of things like, have you ever watched any of the old things when Saddam was purging people or Chairman Mao or Stalin? Not that these people are any of that. But what happened is so many of them disagreed with what he was doing or they were doing, but they all clapped early and they clapped forever because they were terrified to be called out for it because they never knew what the consequences were going to be. That to me scares me. It should totally scare you too. Absolutely. And many of you know that. Many of you have friends that are like that. Some of you may even be that way and say, "Yeah, and I believe it's gone too far, but I'm afraid to say anything because they're going to come after me." So you've allowed your fear to dictate your actions. And we can't do that. You know what courage is? Courage isn't knowing whether or not you could get hurt doing something. Courage is knowing, yeah, you know what? I could pay a price for this, but I'm going to do it anyways because this is what needs to be done. And that's where cancel culture is going to be stopped. That's when free speech will restore itself to its rightful places where it should be. So what keeps me up at night is very little, but the things that I do think about is the insanity of people going, "I really believe in free speech, but," because the but is, I don't like what they say. And free speech in the Constitution should really say, you should always agree with me. And if I don't like what you have to say, you should not be allowed to say it. Wrong. There's none of that. Free speech and the Constitution says exactly the opposite. I have the right to offend you because you're going to be offended by everything. So I have the right to say what I say, and if you're offended by it, that's you. And you have the right to say what you're saying. If I'm offended by it, that's on me. But at the end of the day, if somebody took away your rights, I'm going to fight for your rights to say those things, even though I may not believe in them. And we don't have both sides doing that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. MyPillow slept well last night. Did. So MyPillow's got all kinds of different things. But what you don't know is they've got dream bed sheets. Giza. That's what they're called. Giza. What is it? Well, Giza, mate. It's Egyptian cotton, isn't it, Chad? It is. Ultra soft, breathable. Most comfortable sheets you'll ever going to own. So my biggest issue with towels, with sheets, a lot of things, is you get it, what happens? Oh, it's really nice, and you wash it, then what happens? Like, wow, it went from being a king to a twin. And I'm going to have to sew 4 of them together just to get it. You don't have to worry about these. Deep pockets, absolutely incredible. You don't have to worry about them flying up and flopping up. 6-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty, wide variety of sizes and colors. It's Giza breathable Egyptian cotton. Try it for yourself. They're called Dream Sheets. Get them at mypillow.com. Use promo code Benson. When you do, you're going to get 2 for 1 low pricing and free shipping. mypillow.com. Promo code Benson. 2 for 1 low pricing on the Giza Dream bed sheets with promo code Benson. mypillow.com. Promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
This weekend, Donald Trump was saying in a rally that if he loses, he's going away.
Lost to the worst candidate in the history of politics. Maybe I'll have to leave the country. I don't know.
Well, I'm ready to chip in for his one-way ticket to North Korea, or Putin might take him.
Siberia.
Honestly, he's not leaving, and he's not leaving the political scene, even if he loses, and I don't think we should take that for granted. 4 years ago, Hillary Clinton had a 10-point advantage in the national polls at this time. So let's not take it for granted.
Anna Navarro there. I would totally leave if I was Trump. I keep saying that. I'd be like, all right, here's the deal. I'm not going to do it anymore. They're like, no, you're totally going to do it, right? We want you. Because, like, the thought process is, and you know, what's he do? Do you give him a platform? I've thrown some things out there that one thing I would say, but I won't say on air, that I've thrown out there that we've talked, and it's not bad that he might do. Which has basically to do with radio. Oh, yeah. You go on tours on a daily basis, right? Like tomorrow night, and be like a barnstorming tour. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be there. I've started a movement. I'm going to rally the movement. We're going to grow. And guess what? I'm coming back in 4 years, and I'm going to try it again, right? Happened with Winston Churchill. He lost, came back when he was 77, won again. Oh, my God. We'd be just like that. I can come back again. I can rise from the ashes. And as long as I'm still healthy, I'll do it. So I'm just going to go from place to place, and I'm going to keep building it up, and I'm going to criticize. But what happens? You give the people who despise you the exact thing they want. And it's an ego thing. Trump can't do it. He can't. If he lost, he just couldn't go hit golf balls, pull a Marshawn Lynch and say, I am never going to talk about anything. I'm only here to get fined. So I don't get fined. He could never do that because that would kill them. It would eat them up inside. They'd have nothing. You're not listening to them ad nauseum. There's a great thing on the front page of Drudge today. Are we ready for a boring president? And I said it first. Go back and look at the tapes. So the only way Biden unites the country is he bores us to death. I said it 5 months ago. He makes it so politics isn't anywhere near the front page of any discussion. Because it's like, what did he do today? Nothing. He had a meeting with the Slovenian president. Tomorrow he's going to go open up a manufacturing company in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And then from there, he is going to go have a meeting in Southern California with some donors. And that's what it's going to be. There won't be ad nauseum, kind of the stuff where Trump tweets and the battles. So there's nothing there for him. That's what I would do if I was Trump. I'd be like, screw it. I'm not going to add to your coffers anymore. You guys have got enough. I got enough out of you. You got enough out of me. I think this was a very successful partnership, and with both of us profited. Me, with the amount of time, if I got this kind of airtime and I had to pay for it, it would be in the quadrillions. And you got extra dollar bills, you got extra likes, you got extra shares, you got extra everything. And now I'm going to bid you guys adieu and hit golf balls all day and relax and just take some time off. And then they're going to look at Joe and they're like, Joe, do you have any tweets at all? Like, at anything? It's like nothing? No tweets? Nothing you feel about this guy? Because Joe's not that guy. Joe, I think, is going to say, no, we're not going to go after him. We're going to move on with the life. We're not going to keep him in the public's eye if he doesn't want to be. And we're sure in the hell not going to prosecute him for anything because that's not going to heal the country and bring the other people over to us. We're just going to move on and heal. And they're going to sit around all day with nothing to do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. My goodness me. What a great day. Do you know it's Tuesday? And on Tuesdays, I tell you guys to do the same thing because it's a smart thing to do. Quite frankly, in some states, I believe it is actually a law. Go get yourself a taco. We'll do it again tomorrow. As always, Night Night Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.